traders, Raghee here, and in this video we're going to talk about just the continued upward trajectory of the market. And believe me, gang, if we can get another pullback the way we did, just a handful of days ago, I would absolutely still be a buyer. In fact, there were certain names that we bought during this previous pullback. So until that happens, I'm going to continue to focus on short-term time frames. So yes, I love some daily pullbacks. I'd love to continue to follow the trend. But let's talk about what we had this morning and some of the intraday setups that we continue to get opportunities for. And one of the reasons I definitely want to have a conversation about this morning's trades was it was a pretty textbook breach retreat. And this is one of the main, I'll call it pitches. And let me see if I can find the notes for this one that I can show you. All right, there we go. So those are the pitches. And what I mean by that is there's four main setups that I'm looking for in the morning: V-score low buys, breach retreat buys, breach retest buys, and HPMR support levels. The initial balance breach to VWAP is something that will happen after 10:30 if we took out the, and I'll show you a couple examples of all of these here today. So this is what I'm looking for. These are the specific setups. This is what keeps us disciplined. This is what keeps us from over trading. This is what allows us to give our mouse and our keyboard a rest until there's a reason to do something. So what do we get here today? Well, let's talk about the first 30 minutes of the day, the highs and lows that are created during the clearing range. And the idea is to mark those highs and lows, keep a bullish directional bias, which is exactly what we've had since the 3rd of November, gang. I have not shorted as a day trader. Actually, I haven't shorted anything since the 3rd of November. It's not that the market's not capable of moving lower. It's just the lower probability side of the market. And I just assume get stopped out on those days and keep a bullish bias, keep from over trading, and keep my eye to higher highs, which continue to overall be the way that we want to focus on the overall direction of the market. Yeah. So take a look, breach retreat, moving higher, right? And this wasn't just the S&P. Let's show you another breach retreat. This is the NASDAQ. Going back to the clearing, the first 30 minutes of the day, 9:30, all right, bell rings. There's our breach, there's our retreat. This one's a little deeper, but again, breach, retreat. Now, what do I call this a retreat? It really could be called a breach retrace, because what I'm looking for is a Fibonacci retracement of the clearing range. So here's my clearing range move from here to here. Market moves down into this zone. That's my Fibonacci of this move. That's why I call it a retreat. It could be called a retrace, right? But breach retreat is just easier to spit out. So there's your opportunity there. Now let me show you what I like to see for the latter part of the day. And that is if we see the markets pull back after an initial balance breach. That means that we take out the high and low of the first 60 minutes after the bell and we trade up into the VWAP zone. That's what I'm looking at there for potential buys. All right. And S&P and NAS have been definitely, I believe, your relative outperformers. So we want to take a look at your 60-minute. That's your initial balance levels, and then get the market to come back to this VWAP here. Now, you might say, well, what about the Dow? Well, the Dow didn't breach. The Dow did not give us a breach retreat. So when the Dow comes back to the VWAP, I have very little expectation. So remember, gang, you've got to have the setup. And in waiting for the setups, you have a process. And in the process, you have a less frequent, much more discerning, higher probabilistic approach. And that's what we're talking about here. So those are some of the levels. Those are some of the setups that we utilize today. And I'll see you all next week.